The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, President Trump with a ceasefire deal, hoping it's going to last for at least 10 days and well beyond between Lebanon and Israel. Also saying he hopes that a deal may be soon with Iran. That would be amazing too, of course, if that were to come. Then also Zoran Mandani responding about his wife, who sort of made a half-hearted apology. We'll get to that in a moment. But the other big news, as we've been talking about, is Anna Paulina Luna dropping what is nothing short of a bombshell and naming names and saying the senator that she says is being investigated for some pretty serious allegations. And you're going to hear it in her own words. She says is Ruben Gallego, who is the good best friend of Eric Swalwell, who claimed he didn't know anything like Sergeant Schultz about Eric Swalwell and his improprieties. And yet she's dropping some pretty serious allegations. She just did an interview, and I want to play this. She did it with my old friend Major Garrett of CBS News. And she was talking to Major Garrett. You'll hear Major kind of getting the information when she announces who she's talking about, says it's being investigated by the Senate. And then she gets into like sex trafficking and prostitution stuff. This is pretty serious stuff, guys. Take a listen. Here is Anna Paulina Luna, Congresswoman of Florida. She's referring to Arizona Senator and Eric Swalwell, longtime great friend, Ruben Gallego. This is a new allegation, and she's talking about ones related to Gallego. This could be a bombshell. Listen to this.
On X, you posted the following, tagging Senate Majority Leader John Thune. It seems like the Senate has its own trash to take out. You, meaning Thune, need to look into the allegations against one of your senators. It's very disturbing. Who are we talking about?
We are talking about an Arizona senator that was very closely tied to Eric Swalwell, and I have since confirmed with Senator John Thune's chief of staff, as well as they're linking us to their ethics that they are investigating, and we are sending all appropriate information directly to them now.
That would be Ruben Gallego, correct?
Correct.
When you say in that X post, it's very disturbing, for my audience's benefit, can you define what disturbing means to you?
Well, without, I guess, getting too graphic, there is a woman that allegedly is coming forward with attorneys, wants to go on record about an incident that occurred between the two of them at the same time, and the event was sexual in nature, allegedly. But it's not just that. There's also, too, apparently issues of campaign finance violations. Again, look, I am one member of Congress, but I'm not going to be like some of my colleagues that waited, forever and a day to bring this information forward. I think that if this is happening, that it needs to be dealt with. I'm definitely not in the Senate, but I think that Thune should probably take that seriously and look into it, especially given the nature of what's become apparent regarding Eric Swalwell.
Based on what you know, Congresswoman, does this sound to you, and you're not a prosecutor, neither am I, but does it sound to you that it's criminal in nature regarding Senator Gallego?
I think that if it involves people that were potentially trafficked, yes. Regarding the campaign finance violations, I think that that's cut and dry. But right now, I'm not investigating this. I'm simply presenting this information to the authorities that have the positions and power to do what they will with it. Part of the problem that we have in Washington currently is that a lot of this behavior was circulating publicly. People had heard about it, but they didn't present it to the appropriate authorities. And frankly, right now we have a slush fund that 3/4 of Congress voted to protect. We had to subpoena those records in House oversight, and we should be obtaining them next week. But again, that information belongs to the American people. If your taxpayer dollars to the tune of $18 million, which is I think the current number, are being used to cover sexual harassment, sexual assault settlements, that's not something that we should be paying for, and I definitely don't want to serve with these types of people. I understand, too, playing devil's advocate, that people can make false allegations, but Given, again, the stuff that's come out with Eric Swalwell, given the stuff involving potentially escorts involved, et cetera, again, I sent this information as soon as I got it to the appropriate authorities.
And you mentioned the word trafficking. That carries a lot of weight in a lot of different ways, criminal and emotional. Do you believe sex trafficking is part of what this could be about?
I think any time that you are knowingly engaging in purchasing someone for sex, that is something that should be taken seriously. I've heard this now about a few members of Congress. One of them is under current investigation by House Ethics. I think that there's another one being opened up in the Senate. But yes, I would say that that's criminal nature. Actually, right now in the United States, according to the Trafficking in Persons report that the State Department typically puts out, we're one of the worst countries in the world for that. And again, we don't know anything about these individuals. I mean, are they doing it on their own accord? Are they being forced? Are they being coerced? Again, though, most people don't have these types of allegations. Most people don't have these types of rumors floating around about their offices. And the problem that we're seeing right now is that there are a few people up here that are coming up here and they're not serving their constituents. And it should not be the expectation, nor should it be asked of us by either party to cover up for this type of behavior. And so I do applaud journalists that are asking questions on this, because I don't want to serve with these people. I don't think that they should be in positions of power. And I definitely don't like what I've seen in regards to how they've treated women specifically. It's actually really gross when you hear about it.
Wow. That was a bombshell. Anna Paulina Luna there with CBS's Major Garrett asking the questions. I just heard it for the first time, as you guys did too, where she is saying that Ruben Gallego, the allegation that's being looked at to somehow tied to Swalwell with people possibly human trafficked, escorts, prostitution. And then she even said that there might be some other member of Congress being investigated. I mean, there's a lot of there. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Eduardo in Tampa in Florida. Of course, Anna Paulina Luna is a congresswoman of Florida. Eduardo, you just heard that. What was your reaction to what you just heard?
Ruben Gallegos was on my mind the whole day. I go, I can't wait to call Rita's your show tonight, and see if anybody has the insight. I'm going to be listening to the Spanish news too, because he's Latino from Arizona, and see if there's anything that comes out. But I did want to mention there's a couple other people. John Waldron, he's a state rep from Oklahoma, and another one from North Carolina State Senate, Jonah Garrison. Both of these characters involved in behavior, sexual misconduct. One of them. Are they being formally investigated? Is what you're telling me? Not just allegations, right? Okay. This came in. I don't know if there's anything like let's came out in Daily Mail.
And let's talk broader too. How pervasive do you think this problem is, Eduardo? And maybe now after what came out with Swalwell, there's a lot of people who are very nervous tonight.
Yeah. Well, you know how everybody was all up on Epstein. Well, here's the boomerang coming back to hit the hunters.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. And look, to me, it doesn't matter if somebody's Democrat or Republican. There was also, remember that Tony Gonzalez from Texas who had to quit because of a relationship with the woman who killed herself, which is so sad. I mean, it's just horrific. Right. But how could these things go on for so long and nobody I guess in the Gallego case, this sounds really horrific, too. If it's something tied to trafficking or prostitution, at least that's the allegation. And right now it's just an allegation. But still, Rita, that's serious stuff, Eduardo.
Yeah, and let me mention, we can't forget the Fairfax, Virginia. Remember that one?
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, the lieutenant governor.
He killed his wife.
Right, who killed his wife and killed himself.
I know they were going through a divorce. Yeah.
Yes, and they were having all these apparently relationship problems, divorce problems, and he had previous sexual assault charges again too. Also, I was reading about too that it was having trouble getting hired after. Can you imagine that? after you had sexual assault in your background. Boy, things are getting really wild tied to politics tonight. That is for sure. Maybe the dam is bursting, especially we'll find out when it comes to Ruben Gallego. This is stunning. And again, this is an allegation from Anna Paulina Luna, but it's a pretty big one. Let's go to Norm in Brooklyn on line 3. Norm, your thoughts tonight.
My thoughts. Yeah, I'm disgusted by this Sodom and Gomorrah frat house that apparently is our Congress.
Me too. And the thing is too, it's well beyond. I mean, we don't know. Again, we just heard all these allegations together about Anna Paulina Luna, but the stuff coming, about Eric Swalwell in particular. I mean, this is rape. I mean, this is serious stuff. And now you got this and it's got to be cleaned up. I mean, they can, you should not be representing the public in any shape or form and committing illegal, immoral, illicit activity.
Yes. No, it's the poor choices of the electorate, if you ask me, that we get these people. I mean, just look at what just happened in New Jersey.
Let's talk about that, because within minutes of the poll closing, it went for this woman who is, I describe her as sort of left of the left of the left, of Bernie Sanders, of everybody. I mean, some of her things are, they're clearly, she's an anti-ICE. She's, talked about, some of her comments are just really reprehensible, anti-Semitic in a big, big way. And doesn't seem to mind being called anti-Semitic. That should be a tip-off. And then she also wants to cancel all student loan debt, free college tuition, increase taxes, on the rich, on corporations. I mean, poor New Jersey. I'm telling you, they already are getting socked. I have a lot of friends in New Jersey. They're getting socked, and now this woman's gonna hit them from every which way.
I see no hope here on the East Coast here. I really don't. I mean, if Blakeman gets in, there will be a little bit of a redistribution back to the center. But until that happens, I see no hope here. Anyway, that's the reason why I'm calling you, Rita. Is I know how much you and John were behind trying to save those poor ostriches up in Canada. And unfortunately, it was not successful. There is a situation in Colombia where the government of Colombia wants to murder 80 hippopotamuses. Now, hippopotamuses are not native to Colombia. They were imported in the 1980s by Pablo Escobar.
They're the cocaine hippos.
They're cocaine hippos, although they probably speak Spanish, but I don't think that they take cocaine. So
Right. But they're called the cocaine hippos because they were brought in by Escobar, as you're describing. Right. Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, the government of Colombia wants to murder them, and I thought that was just would be a wonderful project for John to try to get the government of Colombia not to kill these 80 hippos, because I happen to like hippos. They're on my top list of some of my favorite animals.
Oh, they're beautiful animals. They're gorgeous. Yeah. I went to Africa years ago, and I've seen them up close. And they really are. They're just spectacular animals and breathtaking. And I remember this case, so I will bring it up to him because I didn't realize that they were planning to kill them, which is really heartbreaking. And you're right. And John tried his hardest, by the way, as you know, with the ostriches, big time. Right. And it seemed like the Canadian government was intent to not even to not cooperate in any shape or form. They were intent to. And these guys, the ostriches, had some secret healing powers to that they survived some illnesses that others did not. So it could have maybe been some miracle cure for humans, but they didn't care about it. For some reason, They were intent. I'm going to definitely bring up the cocaine hippos. It's a good point. And I'm glad you told me about that, because that's heartbreaking to hear that Colombia is thinking of getting rid of them. Thank you very much, Norm. I appreciate it. Everybody, we're going to continue after the break. 1-800-848-9222. And you're listening to The Rita Cosby Show.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. This is The Rita Cosby Show.
President Trump making a lot of comments in the last 24 hours and continuing his battle with the Pope, saying the Pope should start condemning Iran and its behavior towards its own citizens, saying he doesn't regret what he said, that he thinks the Pope should be focused on those who are committing horrible, heinous crimes against their own people. And he said somehow the Pope seems to be missing that point and going after, quote, tyrants and talking about Trump. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Joanne in Nassau County on line 5. Go ahead, Joanne. Your thoughts tonight.
Yes, thank you so much, Rita. You really just articulated my thoughts on this subject. Number one, when I heard about the Pope's comments about Trump, it did bother me because I didn't think they were fair. I think President Trump wants to see Iraq, stabilized. I've been reading while I was waiting to talk to you, and online, all it talks about in Iraq is this tremendous instability in the country. It's totally out of control there, and Trump is trying very hard to, get them to talk peace and get them to.
With Iran, you're talking about, obviously. Yes. And that's why, I agree. I felt the Pope, and it saddens me. I don't like to see the president and the Pope. I don't like to see any president and the Pope fighting, or making barbs at each other or whatever. But I feel that the Pope has gotten so political in this particular case, and the Pope not condemning the Iranian regime for slaughtering tens of thousands of their own people. That's a missed moment by the Pope.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Rita Cosby is on.
Well, it certainly has been an interesting night here on the Rita Cosby Show. 1-800-848-9222. By the way, some big breakthroughs may be on the horizon with President Trump vis-a-vis Lebanon and Israel, and also with Iran. President Trump today, first of all, he goes to the White House and the press corps. Remember, Joe Biden would dodge and hide away from the press corps constantly was, not even answering a basic question because he couldn't even speak. Remember, he was so out of it. President Trump today took so many questions from the press, a lot of them hostile questions, but he still answers them. I give him so much credit. He has been the most accessible president of my lifetime, truly. I mean, I've covered a lot of presidents, you guys, and he constantly is available. He is constantly answering questions, constantly making sure that he is there if somebody has any questions or thoughts. He says no, but he'll go through the gambit. And he answered, dozens of questions today for about 30 minutes straight. It was really remarkable on just whatever the topic. Nothing was off limits. So love him or hate him, you got to agree that he is unbelievably accessible and always answers the questions. Whether you like the answers or not, he answers them. And so today he was certainly talking about a lot of big stuff and saying that maybe in a matter of days, Lebanon, the president of Lebanon, the head of Lebanon, and the prime minister of Israel, that they may meet at the White House. That would be incredible. Obviously, they're trying to figure out what to do with Hezbollah. The Hezbollah definitely ruling Lebanon, and obviously against Israel, and also Hezbollah, a proxy of Iran. So there's a lot of chess pieces here. And then you've got also President Trump sounding very optimistic about maybe all this blockade of the Strait of Hormuz against Iranian ships and those going to and fro Iranian ports. Maybe it is squeezing Iran and bringing them back to the peace table, because he says that Iran seems to be coming around. Here's what he told reporters not that long ago. And if this would come to fruition, this would be huge.
The big thing we have to do is we have to make sure that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon, because if they do, you want to talk about problems, you'd have problems. So very important is that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon, and they've agreed to that. Iran's agreed to that, and they've agreed to it very powerfully. They've agreed to give us back the nuclear dust that's way underground because of the attack we made with the B-2 bombers. So we have a lot of agreement with Iran, and I think something's going to happen very positive.
That would be amazing. I mean, he sounds optimistic. Iran's saying it. Obviously, we want to see if there's proof in the pudding, if there's actions, but that would be very powerful. Meantime, Zohran Mamdani, the mayor of New York, they were trading barbs in a sense today, if you will. Donald Trump coming out and saying that Zohran Mamdani's policies are destroying New York. Mayor Mamdani is destroying New York. It has no chance. I think the honeymoon is over between Donald Trump and Zohran Mamdani. You can't say that Donald Trump didn't give him a chance. Remember, he greeted him at the White House and they talked together. So he was trying to help him, but clearly to no avail. And here is Mayor Zohran Mamdani taking issue with Donald Trump going after Iran. Listen to this one.
You have vehemently different views on the war in Iran.
Absolutely. I'm deeply opposed to the war. I think it's something that should be opposed not just on a political level or an economic level, but frankly a moral level. We're talking about spending close to $30 billion to kill thousands of people an ocean away, while we're told that we don't have even an ounce of that money to help working class Americans across this country.
Have you spoken to him specifically about that?
It's no secret of how I feel about the Iran war. The president and I are very honest about those disagreements, and I'll give you another example.
But I know it's no secret that how you feel because you've told us, but have you two had a conversation about that specific issue?
We've had a conversation about a number of issues, and that includes our disagreements on foreign policy. And I'll keep the frequency and the nature of those conversations private because that's the premise of them. But I will tell you that in those conversations, it is one that is driven by actually being candid.
In a word salad kind of answer, it sounds like he's saying that he's told Trump that. I'm sure Trump has been like, yeah, next. But Zohran Mamdani's taking a lot of sort of incoming verbal from a lot of different places. And the latest new thing is about his wife, the First Lady of New York, Rama Dawaji. She kind of semi-apologized, but not really, for past, quote, harmful social media content. Without really mentioning these horrible pro-Palestinian, pro-terror posts, anti-Israel posts, and kind of blames it as that she was just a child, if you will. Here's the thing. When a tabloid recently published old tweets I wrote as a teenager, I felt a lot of shame being confronted with language that I use that is so harmful to others. Being 15 doesn't excuse it. Referring to something dating back, I think it was to 2013 when she was reportedly 15. But fast forward 10 years past that, all right, she's 25, and October 7, 2023, she was liking posts that were celebrating Hamas against Israel after they had murdered all these Israelis and raped and brutally assaulted all these Israelis. One of the posts also included claims that the rapes carried out by the terror group Hamas against Israel and the hostages were a mass hoax. So she was agreeing with that. I mean, and that wasn't when she was 15. That's when she was 25. So she's not even apologizing. She's not even saying that fundamentally she doesn't agree with them. She's not condemning even the past comments, making it sound like it was just a child when she made the comments. That's not correct, obviously, at least not all of them. And 15 isn't a child, and 25 certainly isn't a child. But so today, Zohran Mamdani was being asked about it, and listen to the non-answer he gives when he was asked about his wife semi sort of apologizing or not. But listen to this one.
First and foremost, I'll say that I made the decision to run for mayor, and in doing so,
become an incredibly public figure. And this is also a decision that then has ramifications for those that I love and those that are around me. My wife made the decision to be an artist. And I think that these kinds of questions are part and parcel of what is coming with myself being the mayor of the city. But at the end of the day, it is my decision to be in this position. It is my responsibility to the people of New York City. I am grateful that much of the questions that she faces are also questions about her artistry and the work that she does, because that is also who she is. She shared some of her reflections in this interview. I won't add much to them. What I will say, however, is that she is someone of incredible integrity. She's someone that I am lucky to be able to call my wife, and that I am proud of her each and every day.
Are you proud of the fact that she thought the rapes were a mass hoax, or that Hamas celebrating them was like a good thing? Are you proud of that? We haven't heard an answer on that. He still dances around. The media in New York needs to sit there and say, excuse me, Mr. Mayor, this is reprehensible. She's the first lady. She's not some distant third, fifth cousin. And it follows a pattern of other things, of other people that you've hung around with and comments you yourself have made in the past that have been reprehensible against Jewish, screaming about policies that are certainly not positive towards Jewish individuals and Jewish groups. This is they need to really ask him the tough questions, because some of these comments, and to say, oh, well, my wife's an artist, does that give you an excuse to say that the rapes against the Jews on October 7th, 2023, when Americans were also killed, that's a hoax, or that we should celebrate that? I find it absolutely reprehensible, some of these comments. And for her to say, oh, I was 15. Does anybody buy that one? 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Meantime, Joy Reid, who, of course, was on MSNBC. You have to hear this one. This one is a doozy. So Joy Reid thinks that Mayor Mamdani walks on water. And she says, to heck with the Constitution. I know he wasn't born in the United States. Remember, he was born in Uganda. She says, let's just change the rules. Zoran for president.
On the rich.
And they didn't leave.
And they still there. Their asses is still right there with their little $5 million pied-à-terre. They ain't going nowhere. He's literally implementing the things he said he was going to do. And everybody said none of it was possible. This is my radical proposal. The Constitution. It don't apply to Trump. Why can't he run? Okay, he wasn't born here. They claim Obama wasn't born here. How they going to prove he wasn't born here? These people lie. They were trying to say Marco Rubio wasn't born here and he shouldn't be president. They try to say Kamala Harris is not a natural born citizen. They don't believe none of our actual natural born citizens are natural born citizens. At this point, I say run and let the Supreme Court sort it out.
You know what?
What a crazy comment from crazy Joy Reid. To heck with the Constitution. Let's have Zoran Mamdani for president. Thank goodness he was born in Uganda. Thank goodness. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Joaquin in Pennsylvania, line 3. Go ahead, Joaquin.
Good evening, Rita. You have me laughing and chuckling right now. Here's the irony to what Joy Reid says then. So then why don't we just give Trump his third term then? Put him up for the third term.
Yeah, right. To heck with the Constitution, right? To heck, right?
Yeah, again, this is all very frustrating, and you talk about this loss in New Jersey, okay? I cannot believe that people are so blind as to what is going on and the dangers that we're facing. But I did actually want to comment on President Trump and the Pope, okay?
Go ahead.
This Pope, I've seen a video today. Unfortunately, I can't find it, but it scared the heck out of me about the things that this Pope is doing. He's very pro-Islam, okay? Actually, really is more anti-Western civilization and pro the Islamic takeover of the world. And he's not speaking out about the genocides that are going on against Christians. You're talking about tens of thousands of Christians being murdered in places like Uganda and many other places and being murdered by Muslims. He's speaking out against, I guess, the Israelis in Gaza. And then meanwhile, he's not, there's nothing about the horrors of and how actually it's the Palestinians that caused the whole problem. And there was a video of some poor hostage being driven, through Gaza in the back of a pickup truck. I wasn't sure if it was a man or a woman, being beaten along the way. And I can't imagine, the horror of this poor person in the back of this truck with just, crowds and crowds of people all around, wanting to hurt this person. And so President Trump really is right. He's anti-America, anti-Western civilization, and he's so far left, and really we would wish that, Catholics would wake up to this, and even the ones in the Catholic, like the priests and the bishops, and all these other people that are higher up in the Catholic Church below the Pope, and to see what's actually going on with this guy.
Yeah, it is. So it is. I'll tell you, it is surprising how political I think the Pope has become. Typically, the popes obviously want peace to just have a chance. And I think in general, obviously, we all want peace to have a chance. But you're right. It seems like this Pope, and what Trump is also, and other people in the Republican Party have said, I think it was David Axelrod, who was sort of the creator of Barack Obama. He went over and met with the Pope, and then suddenly the Pope took a really hard view of Trump. So who knows what else, was in his ear. And just like you said, I haven't heard the Pope condemn the activities by the Iranian regime. You brought up also, what's been going on in Nigeria and elsewhere. I mean, there's some really horrific cases where the Pope should be taking those governments very much to task. And I haven't heard that. And I use the phrase, Joaquin, it's a lost opportunity, because the Pope obviously has enormous following. And if he could go up against those regimes and speak out and help to create some good and condemn them publicly, then that would be a great thing. But we don't hear that. I mean, that's the problem, Joaquin. And Trump is going, hey, wait a minute, are you hanging around AOC? Are you hanging around? That's what he's thinking. So I hear his frustration. I don't like to see the Pope and the president fighting or a war of words, just because I think they both hold obviously very, very important positions, and hopefully it gets resolved. But I also, it is kind of surprising how one-sided this Pope seems to have been. And that to me is really, really shocking. Joaquin, thank you very much. It's always good to hear from you. Let's go to Lauren in Toronto, line 5. Go ahead, Lauren, your thoughts.
I've got some issues between, President Trump and the Pope as well. That has there not been in the past, like Catholic monks that have had to become like militia, working together as militia during wars and that sort of thing? And they have to do whatever they have to do to survive under a war situation. So how does the Pope himself reconcile the fact that people have to survive and they might have to kill other people in order to do it?
Yeah, and good versus evil. If you look in the Bible, there's so many biblical references to good versus evil. And fighting for evil. I mean, you certainly, if you look at, I guess, under his philosophy, the U.S. shouldn't have gotten involved in World War II against Hitler.
Well, we should be pacifists. We got to be pacifists then. Is that what we're trying to be taught? And that's not being in survival mode. That's going against human nature.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why I also have tremendous respect, Lauren, for what the Pope's role is. But I just feel like, to your point, he has become stilted, and he seems to become so highly political, as opposed to spreading a message of love and peace for all and condemning evil when it comes out, because it also is important to confront evil. I mean, there's good versus evil all over the Bible. And I think that in many ways, especially when it's very clear who the evil side is, it should be called out. So I wish we saw more of that. Lauren, I totally understand where you're coming from. Thanks so much. Everybody, we're going to continue with your calls. But first, support our heroes.
The Rita Cosby Show presents Support Our Heroes.
And this is the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Support Our Heroes segment, with a really powerful story from Louisville, Kentucky, where Air Force veteran Edith Matthews celebrated a big 100th birthday. She was a veteran, by the way, of both World War II and also the Korean War, and she was recognized for her service in helping to pave the way for women in the military. She completed her nursing courses and basic training while caring for those wounded during World War II on American soil. And 6 years later, she enlisted in the U.S. Air Force as a first lieutenant, serving in a 500-bed barracks hospital in Mississippi. There, she cared for service members who had been hurt, injured, or otherwise needed a lot of treatment in the Vietnam War. And bravo, of course, to her and all of our great female veterans who have made such a difference through so many different battles. And bravo for all they do to inspire each and every one of us. And everybody, all it takes is just $11 a month to make a huge difference. Donate just $11 a month to the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Be sure to check them out. They are the best organization out there, and they do so much good for America's heroes and their families. Check them out at T2T.org. That's T, the number 2, T.org.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. It's the Rita Cosby Show.
Well, I can't wait to see what happens tomorrow. Anna Paulina Luna will no doubt, I'm sure, probably expand on these very serious allegations against Ruben Gallego. And she was insinuating something tied to maybe human trafficking or prostitution involving him and Swalwell, saying that she referred it to Thune, who is the Senate Majority Leader, John Thune. This is getting really dicey. Wow. Let's go to Larry real quick from Brooklyn, line 5. Go ahead, Larry.
Yeah, Rita, I just want to say I took issue with Sid Rosenberg the other day, teaming up with Peter King to say that Trump committed an unforced error by not explaining his taking on of Iran instead of just taking on the Pope.
What do you think?
No, I believe that you don't second guess President Trump when he feels somebody is out of line. You can't restrain him and make him into someone he's not.
And that's true. He is who he is, and he has stood by his words. And listen, I just don't like to see the Pope and the president fighting. I hope they resolve it, but the Pope should also be condemning the Iranian regime.
Thanks for listening to The Rita Cosby Show. You can hear The Rita Cosby Show weeknights at 10 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?